Kia ora and welcome to Sam's Take, a series about entertainment news and reviews with me, Sam Rillstone. This week I'm looking at the latest from Warner Bros. And DC, the anti-hero story Black Adam. Directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, the story follows an ancient slave called Teth-Adam, played by Dwayne Johnson, from the fictional country Kahndaq, who gains superpowers from the wizard Shazam in order to free his people. He is then brought into the modern world and is not as heroic as the stories made him out to be. Debuting in 1945, Black Adam began as the ancient Egyptian predecessor of the superhero Shazam and wields power from various Egyptian gods. The stamina of Shu, the swiftness of Horus, the strength of Ammon, the wisdom of Zehuti, the power of Aten, and the courage of Mehen. Primarily a villain, the character has gone through a reinvention over the years to become more of an anti-hero. Dwayne Johnson as Adam is decent. It definitely feels like the most complete character Johnson has played. I mean, he's had 15 years to work at it, so. He absolutely has presence and obviously fulfills the physicality of the role, and also kind of has a bit of an arc which was surprising, from reluctant hero to savior by any means necessary. The music when you first see Adam is dope, but quickly devolves into a cringe painted black by the Rolling Stones. And at points, Adam's infantilized, a fish out of water who is influenced by old Hollywood movies and a child who loves superheroes. To me, he's meant to be a ruthless killer, and his grey morals are initially characterized as cultural differences rather than malice. And this is going to sound callous, but I don't want him to have empathy as a character. Don't get me wrong, he has rage, but he's a villain to me, one that can go toe-to-toe with Superman. This isn't the film's fault, but anti-hero stories have always been a bit iffy to me, particularly ones when the character was created as a villain initially. By all means, highlight the villains in your roster, but not at the expense of your heroes. The other thing too is that I've always had the theory that Dwayne Johnson plays the exact same character in all of his movies, just in varying degrees of pissed off. And this theory remains true here. He's usually just a big hulking dude who has a bone to pick with somebody. Though, this is not the angriest he's ever been in a movie. I've done the research, went through all of his main filmography to see how angry he is in each film on a scale of 1 to 10. So here are my findings of Dwayne Johnson's top 10 angriest performances from a very scientific investigation.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Coming in at number 10, we have Pain and Gain. Number 9, Race to Witch Mountain. Number 8, Baywatch. Number 7, Welcome to the Jungle. Number 6, Hercules. Coming in at number 5, The Tooth Fairy. Number 4, Gridiron Gang. Number 3, Doom. Number 2, Walking Tall. And Dwayne Johnson's angriest performance of the exact same character, number 1, the Fast and Furious franchise. Now, what do these results tell us? Nothing much. I've just had this theory for a couple of years and wanted to share it with you all. What it does tell us about the film Black Adam, though, is that it's not even in the top 10 of Dwayne's angriest performances, which is a little disappointing. In this film, we also get members of the Justice Society of America, Dr. Fate, Hawkman, Atom Smasher, and Cyclone. The JSA debuted in the comics in 1940 and were the original blueprint for the more widely known Justice League, who debuted in 1960. Not much is different about the two teams aside from their rosters, but Batman himself aptly described the differences of the two teams by saying, "The Justice League is a strike force, the Justice Society is a family." Dr. Fate debuted in 1940 as well, and is a sorcerer who gets his power from a helmet that contains the god Nabu. Fate is in frequent conflict with Nabu as the god attempts to usurp control over his body again and again. Hawkman debuted in 1940 and is the reincarnation of an Egyptian prince who gets his powers from Nith metal that is controlled by his thoughts. Cyclone debuted in 2007 and is the granddaughter of another Justice Society member, Red Tornado, gaining her powers after being kidnapped and injected with nanobites. Atom Smasher debuted in 1996 and gained his powers of size alteration and density from his grandfather, the villain Cyclotron. Dr. Fate, played by Pierce Brosnan, has presence and is a very stoic and wise member of the team. The film also does an okay job at showing the tragedy of his curse from Nabu. Hawkman, played by Aldous Hodge, has the heart and conviction of Batman and a real intensity to him. I also really enjoyed his character design and motivation throughout the film. Cyclone, played by Quintessa Swindell, is charming and fun, although I'm unsure how I feel about the animation of her powers, but hey, she had a little bit of depth beyond just her powers that was teased, so I'm really excited to see more of her going forward. Atom Smasher, played by Noah Centineo, is fine. He's mainly comic relief through the same two jokes over and over again, so kind of take him or leave him. But hey, it's nice to see DC pulling out some of the stranger ones. However, the JSA character intros and origins are almost throwaway lines. There's small tidbits here and there, and of course it's not their movie, but it's just not the smartest to put completely new characters into a movie that's not even about them. But I did really like these characters on the whole. They had a lot to offer and were decent fun, so hopefully we get a spin-off or a prequel to expand them some more. As for the story, there's an interesting idea around the military occupation happening in Kahndaq while the JSA exist, as in why don't they help when they're seen as an international task force. But the thread is not really expanded on a lot. The film meanders quite a bit around a group of mortal characters who take up way too much screen time. Honestly, I don't want to see them. The film's called Black Adam, and their story ends up just being filler to go the place, grab the thing to mean nothing. I really would have wanted the focus to be on Black Adam a bit more. So it's not necessarily fresh or adding anything different, though it's unfortunate that a lot of the avenues of superhero storytelling have already been covered, which certainly makes it hard to create something fresh. But make the characters compelling, and that can sometimes be enough. And to be honest, Adam was just compelling enough. Overall, this was kind of what I expected it to be, quite paint by numbers with a complex performance from Dwayne Johnson and a great supporting cast of superheroes, just in a story that kind of makes its way through some very satisfying punches, but on the whole just as another entry into DC trying to make a compelling story. Sorry, but you can't just put The Rock in anything and expect it to turn to gold. There needs to be things around him that service the character and overall story. But to be fair, there were more things that I liked than didn't, and I am intrigued as to where the character goes next. Hopefully, Black Adam is able to fulfill his full potential as an iconic destructive force. So it's a recommendation from me, just know what you might be getting. Now I am going to touch on a few spoilers next, but if you don't want to hear anything about that, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so post-credits, Adam is threatened to stay in Kahndaq by Amanda Waller, played by the returning Viola Davis. We'll see how long that lasts and how long he goes unopposed, because in the scene, Henry Cavill finally returns as Superman. Honestly, it's amazing to see him back. He's such a perfect Clark and has such a truthful portrayal of the character of Superman. The strength and presence mixed with the wholesome motivation to save. It's moments like this that make me love comics and what can come from them. I hope this means there's going to be a meaningful story told with Cavill and this character. We'll see. I have hope. Not as much as I used to, but some. Cavill wouldn't come back for nothing, and I'd have it a guess that he has more creative control now, which is good. Clark also had the classic hair curl, which I love. I am also excited to see a huge fight with some massive hits between these two, and hopefully a more coherent, interconnected story from Warner Brothers and DC going forward if they are to build a new continuity off of the shoulders of Dwayne Johnson. I mean, it's going to be a bit before we get there, with sequels to Aquaman and Shazam on the horizon, as well as the Flash film, which may or may not be coming out, but could also wipe the multiversal slate clean. But Warner Brothers and Discovery also just canned an entire finished Batgirl movie. I don't really have time to go into it. Google it if you're interested, but it doesn't really bode well for their decision-making process. Look, who knows what's going to happen with DC? Let's just hope they have some sort of plan, or The Rock can intimidate them with money and or muscles to make good stuff. I mean, he's basically been semi-spoiling the post-credit scene to get people to see the movie, and what he helped orchestrate at Warner Brothers given their potentially shaky relationship with Henry Cavill, so if Dwayne is the key, I'm all for it. Henry Cavill is such an amazing Clark and Superman. I'm just so happy he's finally back on screen. Now into a few Easter eggs and references. There's a small Easter egg to the classic look of Black Adam when it's revealed that Adam's son was originally the savior of Kahndaq. We also had Intergang, the military operation occupying Kahndaq. They debuted in the comics in 1970 and are basically a crime syndicate run by the Thanos of the DC world, Darkseid, and have heaps of intergalactic tech. We also see Black Adam put into a large underwater facility run by Amanda Waller's people. There were a lot of big tanks in there that were occupied. Who else they got in there? Oh, and don't worry, I'm sure Dr. Fate will be back. Many have worn the helmet over the years, and it is more about the helmet than the bod under it. So there are my thoughts on DC and Warner Brothers' Black Adam. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Sam's Take, and I'll see you next time for more entertainment news and reviews.